my name is Louise Schoeman and I'm from South Africa. And this is my co-host Caleb Bannister from Canada and Kenya. And we are from the We Talk Story podcast.
Hey everybody, Louise and I are so excited to be able to share with you really what is the background of We Talk Story and what you can expect to hear and what you can learn. All of our interviewers, they have such vast stories and different things where they've had to walk through, and so we're excited to be able to have you on board and listen with us.
I grew up in South Africa towards the end of apartheid, and then the first democratic election happened the year after high school. And yeah, over the years, I've really been saddened by the impact of apartheid in my nation and really the division that it brought. And even for myself, I grew ashamed of my own cultural identity and had to go on a journey to come to a place of really embracing who I am and even to find my space and my place in South Africa and even in other nations around the world. And then we started to travel more recently. And I actually discovered that the issues that's been part of my nation is issues that is really happening still right around the world. And that is really the division between different cultures.
And so for me, I was actually adopted at 6 months old, but before that, I was abandoned at 1 month old as a small baby. And so I was brought up in a white Canadian family. And so you can imagine a part of my story I have had to deal with is understanding my own identity, who I am as a Canadian as well as a Kenyan, and all the different highs and lows that I've had to experience. And so it's been a very multicultural upbringing.
Yeah, so you might be wondering how Caleb and me met. Well, in 2015, Caleb came with a team from the US to South Africa. At the time, I was part of a sister team and we toured right through South Africa. And then in 2016, we actually became teammates. And together, we traveled to about 9 different nations. We experienced the rich, the poor, the cities, and the countrysides of many nations. And we really rubbed shoulders with people from all walks of life.
Being based in the United States from the years of 2014 to 2018, I had the unique privilege of being able to travel to about 17 different nations. And it was more than just being a tourist, but really it was seeing the good, the bad, the ugly in these places, understanding the different sides of racism that were going on, to xenophobia, to just all of just the things that I would never really maybe know, but when I was put in these situations, I was faced with the realities of what's really going on in these different nations, in different cultures.
One way to help build bridges between cultures and bring healing is to listen to people's stories. And I love the quote by Daniel Tailor, which says, the most effective long term solution to racism, as to many other ills, is generations of exchange and interwoven stories. And that is exactly what we're trying to do through the We Talk Story podcast.
So on We Talk Story podcast, there's going to be different topics and different things you can hear, and you'll be able to understand. But Luis, why don't you actually share some of the things you've had to walk through?
Yeah, so because I grew up in apartheid, I grew up in a little cultural box, and my perspective, my worldview was really just from that one cultural point of view. And I had a longing to experience life and the world through other people, other cultures' eyes. And I think that is what part of We Talk Story is about, is really for people to experience life and the world through other cultures' point of view, getting into their shoes, see things from their side. And that is really exciting. And then, yeah, what is something that you've observed in Canada?
Yeah, Canada is home to many different peoples, and we have a lot of immigrants and refugees as well. And one of the things we have found out is when refugees come to Canada, uh, some of their maybe traditional wear or food really doesn't fly with people here, and it upsets people. And so we've seen, and you'll hear in the stories, how people have felt bullied, how people have just felt less than because their culture wasn't as significant as maybe a Western culture.
Then there's something where in families one family member is from one culture and another family member is from another culture. And I think it's especially the kids that struggle because they sometimes the one culture is celebrated more and they feel ashamed about the other part of who they are. Or yeah, it's really a journey for them to come to terms with who they are. And we want to challenge and help people to learn to celebrate and embrace every aspect of their cultural identity. And then, yeah, there's another thing called TCKs. So what is that?
TCK is third culture kid, and those are kids who grow up, whether their parents may be different nationalities or carry different cultures as to the kid, which is a different culture, and even in the area of the home, it's different. And for me, growing up as a Kenyan, but who was adopted by a Canadian family, you can imagine I grew up in a very multicultural world. And so I share on the podcast different things of how I've had to learn past hardships and how I've had just to learn to move forward despite what had happened to me, being abandoned. And that's really what you're going to get out of these podcasts, is hearing how people have prevailed and how they have moved forward despite the hardships they've endured.
Yeah, so we love people's stories, and that is from even different generations. So I'm a Xennial, and that is a crossover generation. So Caleb, what generation are you?
I am a Y baby. That's right. Y.
Yeah, so we bring stories from different generations, from different nations, from right around the world on We Talk Story podcast.
So, to you listening, subscribe and follow us on your favorite podcast platform and share with your friends.
And keep an eye out for our regular blogs on the stories.co website.
Catch us on our next episode on We Talk Story. Bye
Bye
for
for
now.
now.